in Toronto, a city of millions, people just didn't lock their doors.
So you don't lock your doors, but we Americans do. Why is that?
You must be afraid of your neighbor.
You ever leave your doors unlocked at home? Yeah, you do?
Sure.
Where do you live?
Right around here.
Toronto?
Right around here.
You leave your doors unlocked?
Well, he's at it again. Left-wing kook, documentary maker Michael Moore, talking about the idea that people in Canada don't lock their doors. He posted to his Twitter account the statement that most Canadians just don't feel the need. We feel safe here in Canada, and so we don't have to lock our doors. What a bunch of nonsense. Lauren Gunter from Sun News, he's a Sun News contributor in Edmonton, joins me. Lauren, I don't know about you, but I have a deadbolt and a security alarm on my door, and I live right in the heart of Toronto.
Yeah, and I live, in a suburban ring around the downtown core of Edmonton, do exactly the same thing. Deadbolts, alarms, the whole bit. And, this is nothing new. I mean, I grew up in Medicine Hat, which is a small, then when I was growing up, a small community in southeastern Alberta, and we locked our doors when we went out. I mean, if there was somebody in the house, I guess the doors were left open. Kids ran in and out and played all day and things, so there wasn't a need to lock the door all the time. But I mean, Moore seems to think that it's something that's routinely done in Canada everywhere, that we just leave our doors unlocked all the time, and it's ridiculous. But the one thing I found interesting in the story that QMI has about this, that's worth reading on the website, is that in 2008, Allstate, the big insurance company in the United States, surveyed Americans and found that over half of them don't lock their doors. Now, it depends on, what time of day and whether there's somebody home or not. But during the day, if there's somebody home, most Americans don't lock their doors either. But somehow Moore's got it in his head that this is the peaceable kingdom. And somehow, because we don't have any poverty and we don't have the right to own guns, we don't lock ourselves away. And it's just ridiculous. Yeah, it's typical Michael Moore.
It is typical Michael Moore. And, if it didn't cast our country in sort of a weird light, I wouldn't really care what the guy had to say. But, in the United States, it may be more of a freedom kind of thing. Here, if you look at the actual stats, we have 2,800 home invasions in Canada every single year. That's the average. If you look at the most unsafe city in Canada as far as robberies is concerned, it's Belleville, Ontario. So, I mean, overall, people should be locking the doors. I just think it's common sense. The idea that he thinks that it's somehow a utopia up here, he doesn't spend enough time here, clearly.
No, but he also thinks that, our healthcare system is better than theirs. Our gun laws are better than theirs. Our welfare system's better than theirs. I mean, we're lucky that he hasn't figured out the obvious conclusion from all of that is that he should move up here if he really thinks it's all that much better. Thankfully, he's not living in Toronto. But I can guarantee you, if he moved to Toronto or Belleville or Montreal or Vancouver, he'd probably have a guard at his door to protect his millions and all of his property, and he'd clearly lock his doors. I mean, this is just one of those fallacies that gets in the head of some crusading lefty every once in a while, and they just can't shake it. You can throw all the facts in the world at them. You can assault them with reason. I mean, one of the things he said in his tweets the other day was, the reason we lock our doors in the United States, and there's no evidence that they lock them more than we do. The one reason we lock our doors in the United States is 18% of us are poor, and so the rest of us are worried the poor are going to come and steal our stuff. And they don't lock their doors in Canada because only 1% of Canadians are poor, so they don't have to worry about stealing each other's stuff. The lowest poverty rate I've seen in Canada is about 11%. And that's probably a statistical overestimation. But the 18% number in the United States is also a statistical overestimation. The two countries have lots of important differences culturally. And, I choose to live in Canada. I was born and raised here. I love it. I'm not moving to the States. But I travel in the States a lot. We have a daughter who studies in the United States. There's nothing, I'm not anti-American. But this is ridiculous to think that somehow Canada is so much different than the United States, and it embodies all of those things that Michael Moore thinks are dear, like communalism and peace-loving, nonviolence, and social programs. The two countries are simply not that different.
And the other thing to me is this is a safety issue. We have crazy people, we have poor people, we have desperate people, we have crime-ridden neighborhoods, just as they do in the United States. This is just an issue of people's safety. And the idea that he's going to send the message, and I think there might be a danger here, because there are a lot of left-wing kooks that actually follow Michael Moore, there might be a danger here that we're telling everybody, well, come on up to Canada. Things are absolutely safe, and we don't have any any guns on the streets. It's nonsense.
Well, true. I mean, and you know, there was back the most recent ones I've seen are about 10 years old, but the number of break-ins in Canada when people are at home, when a home is occupied, is several times higher than it is in the United States. And one of the reasons that was offered by the academics who did this study a decade ago was that it's well known in the United States that many, many homes, about 60% or more, 70% in some cases, contain firearms. Whereas in Canada, it's assumed that none do. And so break and enter specialists, thieves, are more emboldened to break into a home in Canada when they know the owner's home. They're not scared of breaking in when they know the owner's home because they assume that the owner doesn't have a gun. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, when thoughts like that get around, the criminal element aren't stupid. They know that their job security is, or their job safety is higher if that happens, and it's easier to break in. So you could be. I doubt very much a lot of American burglars who are, you know, getting visas to come across the line and rob Canadian homes. But yeah, you know, the point gets out there that it's easy to rob Canadian houses. So let's start trying.
Yeah, you know, in that movie Bowling for Columbine, it would have been a sad irony if he had actually tried the door of a Canadian gun owner and found himself blown away on the front lawn at the end of it all.
Yeah, except unfortunately, then that gun owner would be arrested by the police and charged with unlawful use of a firearm, unsafe storage, that sort of thing. It would have been funny though, but you know, I found that scene in Bowling for Columbine really disturbing. That he thought that he should actually go to people's houses and open the doors. I'd have him arrested. I mean, if I have the door left open because our kids are outside in the yard and I want to be able to come in whenever, if a stranger opens the door, I don't take to that real kindly.
Yeah, no, you and me are in the same boat. I appreciate it, Lauren.
You bet, Ryan.
Thank you.